Hello everyone, I'm Coral. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with a second part to my most anticipated horror releases of the year. There were just so many great horror books coming out this year, and I made a first part, so you know that was really January through May, and now I'm doing a part 2 where it's June, really just through November, because I couldn't find anything. Like, nothing I searched up came up with any December releases, so maybe it's just too early in this second half of the year to tell. And like, a lot of the books that were supposed to come out in the second half of the year have been postponed to the first half of next year, which is a little bit disappointing, but it's just how the game goes, right? So here are, I don't even know how many. I think there's more than I did in the first part of this video, but there are just so many good horror books coming out this year. Holy friggin' cats. Okay, so I'm gonna be slouchy here with my laptop, so don't look at my double chin, just look at the book covers. Okay, so the first book here is From Below by Darcy Coates. Never read a Darcy Coates book before, but this is something about like sunken ship, right? So it says, years ago, the SS Arcadia vanished without a trace during a routine voyage. Though a strange garbled emergency message was broadcast, neither the ship nor any of its crew could be found. 60 years later, its wreck has finally been discovered more than 300 miles from its intended course, a silent graveyard deep beneath the ocean's surface, eagerly waiting for the first sign of life. So there's a dive team that are exploring it, and you know, some creepy stuff. I love ocean books. I love under the water books. I love books where people get trapped underwater. It just seems like it's going to be so much fun. And that is coming out June 7th. The next book here has an excellent cover. This is Not for Good Maidens by Tori Bovalino. It's described as Salem's Lot meets the darkest part of the forest, which was, I read that was a Holly Black book that was like kind of fairy stuff. So it says a fantasy retelling of Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market. Don't know anything about Goblin Market, right? But this is about a young girl named Lou, and her teenaged aunt, apparently, is kidnapped and taken to the Goblin Market. So this seems like it's going to be a dark fantasy. This is a young adult book, I believe, and it just looks so great. It sounds so great, and the cover is so good. What an absolutely stunning cover. Oh my gosh. This comes out June 21st. Then we have, of course, another really excellent cover for We Can Never Leave This Place by LaRocca. This comes out June 24th, and this is about a young girl named Mara who, oh my gosh, just lives in the most derelict place I can imagine being in. There's like sewage flooding her house. They use sheets instead of doors. There are just holes everywhere, and her father dies, and her pregnant mother get an unexpected visitor who offers his protection, but it comes at a cost. I've read this. This is so good. Definitely one that I would recommend picking up. And that's June 24th. Alright, then we're on to July releases. The first one here is The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. This is about a teenager named Art, and he is in high school. He starts up an extracurricular club for volunteer pallbearers at poorly attended funerals. He makes a new friend who is very cool, and I don't know. I don't really know where it goes from there, but it's Paul Tremblay's new book, and I feel like I have a hair on my chin. Probably one of my hairs, or a cat hair, who knows. And this one comes out July 5th. Alright, the next one I'm excited about is not exactly a horror book, but this is something that seems like it's going to have some dark aspects to it. This is Florida Woman by Deb Rogers. This is about a woman who unintentionally commits a crime, and it somehow goes viral, I suppose. So I'm guessing like it's taped in some way. And luckily, instead of going to jail, she's able to do some community service at a shelter for rescued monkeys. But this says, something sinister stirs in the palmetto woods surrounding her cabin, and secrets lurk among the 3 beguiling women who run the shelter and affectionately take Jamie under their wing for the summer. She hears the distant screams of monkeys each night. The staff perform cryptic lakeside sacrifices to honor Atlas and the land, which has long been abandoned by citrus farmers and theme park developers alike, now proves to be dangerously, relentlessly untamed. This cover it seems like it's a little deceptive compared to what's going to go on inside. And I've found that I've really enjoyed books that are like weird Florida shit, you know, kind of like Tampa, Made for Love, Swampalandia, stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to this. That comes out July 5th. Next up we have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This comes out July 12th. And this is a short little novella. This is supposed to be a twist on the Edgar Allan Poe poem, The Fall of the House of Usher, which it's interesting. This is getting like this poem is getting a lot of attention lately with like books and movies and TV shows or something like that. Maybe a TV show instead of a movie, but that sort of a stuff. So that's kind of interesting. And this is about Alex, who rushes to his dying friend Madeline Usher's side. It says, what they find there is a nightmare of fungal growths and possessed wildlife surrounding a dark, pulsing lake. Oh my gosh, that sounds so fucking gross. I don't know, I got an arc of this that I'm going to read this month from NetGalley. I don't know if it's still on there, but you can always check it out if you're interested. And oh my god, this cover is so like beautiful and gross at the same time. I can't wait for this one. Next on July 19th is Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. This is about a young woman named Vera whose father was a serial killer, and she is estranged from her parents, but her mother calls her home, and she comes home, and it says, coming home is hard enough for Vera, and to make things worse, she and her mother aren't alone. A parasitic artist has moved into the guest house out back and is slowly stripping Vera's childhood for spare parts. He insists he isn't the one leaving notes around the house in her father's handwriting, but who else could possibly be? Maybe dead father? I thought maybe just estranged father, but it seems like her father's dead. So this seems like it's gonna be, I don't know, like haunted housey, creepy housey, serial killery, complicated family dynamics, which is absolutely my shit. So I'm looking forward to this. Oh my gosh, and one of my absolute most anticipated of this year is Blackmouth by Ronald Malfi, which comes out July 19th. This is about a man named Jamie who has been running from his past for decades, and now he is coming back to his, I don't know, his family home, it seems like. What am I trying to say? And now he is kind of trying to repair bridges that he's burned with his estranged brother and his friends, and they all have this traumatic thing that happened to them in their past, and it seems like that this could be almost a coming of age story, but maybe like reverse, kind of maybe like It Is, where there is a point of view of the children in the past and also a point of view of the people in the present, the adults in the present. So this sounds so good. I just really also love Ronald Malfi, so I'm gonna read pretty much anything he puts out. Okay, then we jump to August. August 9th, The Women Could Fly by Meg Giddings comes out. A piercing dystopian novel about the unbreakable bond between a young woman and her mysterious mother, set in a world in which witches are real and single women are closely monitored. So I don't want to know more than that. I read Megan Giddings, I believe it was her debut novel, Lakewood, which was kind of like a fever dream. It was about this young woman who signs up for these kind of like medical trials, and she gets taken advantage of. And so I really like the style of Megan Giddings' writing, and I'm hoping that, you know, I can read this and get more of a feel of what she's about. Then on August 16th, there is from Clash Books, Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger. And this is a home invasion novel that's gotten a lot of like airtime lately. I just keep seeing it over and over. It has so many really interesting blurbs from people like Brian Evanson, Kathy Koja, Rachel Harrison, Eric LaRocca, Cynthia Paleo, so many people. So this has definitely been buzzy, and I have to admit I'm giving into the hype on this one. It seems, I don't know, I'm just very interested. I don't know about it, but I want to know about it. On August 23rd is Daphne by Josh Malerman. You know, I am not all the way caught up with Josh Malerman's stuff, but this sounds like it's going to be interesting. So this says it's a nostalgic coming of age story, an instantly iconic female villain, a new vision of classic horror, stuff like that. But really this seems like it is like an urban legend story. It says that there is this, let's see, a girl named Kit who tells this kind of like urban legend ghost story to her teammates of her high school basketball team. And it says after she tells this story, they start to vanish one by one, and she begins to suspect that the stories about Daphne, who is the, you know, the subject of the urban legend, are real. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, then on August 30th, we have Number One Fan by Meg Ellison. And this is about a novelist. It says, on her way to a speaking engagement, best-selling novelist Eli Gray gets into a cab and accepts a drink from a driver, trusting that everything is fine. She wakes up chained in a stranger's basement. With no close friends or family expecting her to check in, Eli knows she has to save herself. She soon realizes that her abduction isn't random, and though she thinks she might recognize her captor, she can't figure out what he wants. We just have to assume that this might be some sort of misery-like book, and I'm fucking into that, you know? Alright, next, also on August 30th, is Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. This I also have an arc for, and this seems like it's going to be kind of like a horror comedy. This is about a woman named Amy who moves to the suburbs and meets a group of other women who, you know, live similar lives to hers. It says they snark together, they're in the PTA together, they have a monthly wine get together at the she shed in one of their backyards. Like, oh my gosh, of course. But it says, the night after they christen the she shed, things start to feel off. They didn't expect Liz's little home improvement project to release a demonic force that turns their quiet enclave into something out of a nightmare. And that's before the homeowners association gets wind of it. So this seems like it's going to be kind of silly and funny. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I can relate to being a mom. I don't think I'm quite that kind of a mom. I actually like would not want to be in a PTA meeting or do monthly get-togethers of any sort probably with people. Then, okay, so we're on to September releases. First one here is Fairy Tale by Stephen King, of course. We're all very excited about this, right? The cover looks so great. It looks like almost like a dragon eye or like some sort of reptilian eye. Let's see, it says, a spellbinding novel about a 17-year-old boy who inherits the keys to a parallel world where good and evil are at war and the stakes could not be higher for that world or ours. So this almost sounds like kind of like The Talisman. I can't remember what they call like the other world in that. It's been a couple years since I read it, but that's kind of what it seems like when they have, gosh, they have special words for everything in that book, but twins, they're twinners, maybe something like that. I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to this. It seems like the page count on this is like 600 pages, so it seems like this is going to be a very big boy. Okay, then on September 13th, we have It Looks Like Us by Alison Ames. This is another like young adult horror thing, and it says, the remote terror of The Thing meets the body horror of wilder girls in this fast-paced and Arctic thriller. That's all you have to tell me. I'm in. That's it. So this is about a high schooler named Riley who's spending her winter on a research trip in Antarctica. Like, that's just a normal thing that happens. It says it's sponsored by one of the world's biggest tech companies, and I believe that there is some sort of infection that goes around. So very much like the thing. I hope there's shape-shifting. I hope there's creepy goopy stuff. Then September 20th is Ghost Eaters by Mcleod Chapman. And this cover is also very good. It's very haunting. Okay, I'm gonna read to you the synopsis of this one like straight up because it says, ever since their on-again, off-again college romance, Erin hasn't been able to set a single boundary with charismatic but reckless Silas, who's been chasing the next big high since graduation. When he texts her to spring him out of rehab, she knows enough is enough. She's ready to start a career, make new friends, and meet a great guy, even if that means cutting Silas off. But when Silas turns up dead from an overdose, Erin's world falls apart. When Erin learns that Silas discovered a drug that allowed him to see the dead, she doesn't believe it's real, but agrees to a pill-popping seance to ease her guilt and pain. When she steps back into the real world, she starts to see ghosts from her southern hometown's bloody and brutal past everywhere. Are the effects pharmacological or something more sinister, and will Erin be able to shut the Pandora's box of horrors she's opened? So, oh my gosh, like Southern Gothic, ghosts, weird drugs. I'm into this. I read, let's see, the only book I've read by Mcleod Chapman kind of let me down a little bit, but this sounds really good. And I'd love to give him another try. All right, then October 4th, we have Jackal by Erin E. Adams. This is about a Black woman, and she's coming home to her predominantly white town for her best friend's marriage. But on the day of the wedding, during the wedding celebration, her friend's daughter goes missing, and really reminds the main character of another murder and disappearance that's happened. And it says, it can't be a coincidence. As Liz starts to dig through the town's history, she uncovers a horrifying secret about the place she once called home. Children have been going missing in these woods for years, all of them Black, all of them girls. Ooh boy, this one, I get goosebumps a little bit when I think about that. The cover is also just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, just a couple more here. Also in October is Lute by Jennifer Thorne. This says, Wicker Man meets Final Destination. That's all you need to tell me. Unsettling folk horror novel about love, duty, and community. This is about a small town named Lute, where everyone is just very prosperous. It says, so it's only fair that every 7 years on the day of tithe, the island's gift is honored. We're following a woman named Nina Treadway, and she's new to this. She married into this community, and she is married to Lord Treadway, whose family has long protected land, it says. So she is being integrated into this community, and some sort of a sacrifice. I don't know, it sounds interesting. I've been wanting to read more folk horror type books. I feel like I know they're out there, but maybe that's just not like a super huge subgenre. It seems like a lot of those books are written by people who don't live in America, which kind of makes sense because honestly, America doesn't seem very like folksy unless, I don't know, unless you're maybe somewhere where there's like woods, where is that at this point? I don't know. I want some like desert folk horror, you know what I mean? That makes more sense to me. So next on October 11th is The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson. This is about a young woman who's in a abusive relationship, and she luckily gets offered her dead grandfather's estate. So she flees to Georgia with her 11-year-old son, and guess what? The place is totally decrepit. But, you know, she has high hopes for what it might turn into, and she's really grateful for the opportunity to escape her marriage. And so, you know, she wants to make things work out, but creepy stuff happens, of course, because this is a horror book. And you know what? That's okay. I like it when creepy stuff happens. Last one in October is When the Night Bells Ring by Joe Kaplan. This is about 2 people traveling across the US, which is ravaged by fire and drought, which, you know, doesn't seem like that's too far into the future, honestly. And they stumble across a mine. They go deeper, you know, looking for water and stuff like that. And it says that they find the diary of a settler who was there in the 1860s. And it talks about something monstrous in the depths of the mine, which, you know, doesn't sound great. Last book here, this comes out November 15th. And this is a sequel. I don't think I have any other sequels on this list, but this is Wayward by Chuck Wendig, which is the sequel to Wanderers, which I loved so much. I'm gonna have to reread it though, because that was a massive book and it had so much going on. And so, like, you know, if it's a sequel, I need to know exactly what fucking happened before going into the sequel. And this looks like this takes place 5 years after the events in Wanderers. I guess I don't really want to go through the synopsis too much because I don't want to spoil anyone who still has to read Wanderers. It was a great book, but it looks like it continues on with the characters that we saw in the last book and with the events, which is kind of interesting because when I read Wanderers, I didn't expect it to have a sequel. You know, it didn't leave off on a cliffhanger. I didn't really feel like there were really like stuff to tie up, things to tie up at the end. So I don't know, I'm excited about that, and I really liked Wanderers a lot. So first of all, I would recommend that, and also I would love to tell you about how Wayward is coming out in November. I can't wait. Those are I don't know how many books that I'm really looking forward to. I know there are so many more. These are just the ones that are like really on my radar. These are ones that I'd like to be able to pre-order if I can. You know, some months there is like 6 of them, so I don't think that's gonna happen, but you know, there's so many. And so I'd love to hear if there are ones that you're looking forward to, if you've gotten any arcs of these and you've read them already, or, you know, just what's on your radar. I'd love to know. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope I can turn you on to some good shit coming out this year. I will see you guys later. Goodbye.